Media transmissions from Earth have polluted the Milky Way galaxy with completely unwatchable content. Fearing these signals will spread beyond our galaxy, Captain S and the 01 Legion have headed to Earth to destroy the source of this woke mind virus.
At this point, Marvel is trying harder to convince you of their progressive X-Men agenda than they are to actually make the comics good.
Guys, you have been asking us for the last couple of months, and we assure you, we will eventually take Josh out of the intro.
Limp Bizkit did 9/11.
You guys don't know this, but if you go do your own research, and you'll find out that biscuit nationalism is the greatest threat to our country for decades now.
Quite literally, Limp Bizkit became the biggest band in the entire country, and then just America died. Like,
I mean, I'm surprised we haven't traded in holy water and all that fun stuff for like the hot dog or the hot dog flavored water and the chocolate covered starfish. I always forget what that album was, but it was just one. Yeah, it's just one big dirty joke. That's 100% what it is. Linkin Park is the theme song for 11-year-olds, like 100%.
Yeah, like Linkin Park is like for suicidal like 11-year-olds, and then Limp Bizkit is like for wiggers. Like, it's pretty much like the difference between those two.
Is it like I think Fred Durst, because you brought this up when we were talking backstage, Jacob, you were like, yeah, at least they're still around or whatever, like Limp Bizkit. But I'm like, isn't Fred Durst like, didn't he do like some super, and this is, I'm not saying this derogatorily, but didn't he do like some hard like conservative pivot like recently, and he's now like out like doing like speaking engagements in cowboy hats in support of like closing the border and stuff? Like, I think that's the turn Fred made.
I have not checked in on Fred Durst recently, so I wouldn't know one way or another. All I know they just released an album like maybe like a year or two ago called Still Sucks. There's one song on that one particularly, I believe it's called Turn the Bitch Up or something like that, or Turn It Up Bitch. And it does kind of have that old school like Limp Bizkit vibe to it. It's almost like you're listening to him again in like 1997 all over again.
This is apparently Fred Durst.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's before his haircut. Did you not see him with like the grandpa hair for a few years there that he was rocking?
No, I legitimately forgot he existed, and then this happened, and I was like, oh, like it's Fred, and the reason I remember it is because like Fred, even more than Trump, like that red hat is Fred's signature. And
yeah, that red Yankees cap.
Yeah, the backwards one there. Oh, it's forwards now. Oh, whoa, he does look like a grandpa.
It's like Santa Claus, like got one of those oversized wrist necklace things. And what is this? Now he's a cowboy. We live in a simulation, and it's GTA.
You haven't even seen the best cider. This was him just like a year ago.
Oh, so this was my God!
looks like Tom DeLonge in that Blink video where they're all like in like the 80s or whatever. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's the Sabotage. He's like the fourth man to the Beastie Boys.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, sorry, I'm late, guys. Did I miss the filming?
So this was his look when they were doing their comeback recently, because their first single was titled Dad Vibes. So I guess they're all like 50 now. So they were just like going along with the bit. And this is what he was performing on stage looking like. So imagine this man performing break shit.
Say, welcome to your next Captain Marvel. That's what I was gonna say. Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, all those guys are like in their 50s now, and I think he
was 30 at the peak of the band. I thought he was like 19, 20. I clearly did not check back in on like my childhood culture after a certain point.
No, so Fred Durst is 53, which means that when Limp Bizkit hit it big in was it 97 was like their first album, so he had to have been like 27 years old, like around that time period.
That's weird. I don't know why that's so mind-blowing to me that you got, because like I said at the beginning, or you said too,
Spencer,
theme songs for 11-year-olds, and they're like 30, and they're out here like, I mean, I don't know.
Spencer, I know we're all running away from Father Time, but we have to accept the fact that the reality is 1999 was 25 years ago. That's a quarter of a century.
Dude,
You serious?
I was literally thinking about that yesterday, that we are at about 12 years past the Avengers, the first Avengers movie, and the start of the MCU, and I'm just like, where did all the time go? What have I done with myself? What has Marvel done with themselves? What has anybody done with themselves? I can't tell you anything that I can point to and being like, that was incredible over the last few decades.
I have to say that because a couple of things. One, I noticed that even how long it had 15 years ago, Fred's voice, it still holds up for certain songs, but there is some songs he just can't perform anymore. He can't do the final chorus for Nookie anymore, because he screamed so loud during his the younger years of his band that his voice is shot. He can't get that voice up anymore at his age. But here's another thing
and it's not like Limp Bizkit was going out and doing vocal training and practice and trying to keep their voices like Fred just went up there and was like, I'm gonna do this.
And here's the best part. So apparently they're doing a tour this summer called Loserville, right? And they're the headliners for this tour. So I was actually thinking about going to go see Limp Bizkit this summer. And I was like, that might be a cool little novelty, get to see them once. But then here's the thing, there's a bunch of other people who are associated with this concert too. Some of you guys, maybe guys have heard of them. I'm not into modern music, but somebody called Bones is also going to be on this show. Nano Face is also on here too, but this is the two that absolutely
Volume Dealer is too.
This is the two that absolutely killed me. Is
Yeah.
that apparently on this show they're also going to have Corey Feldman and Riff Raff as a part of this concert as well. And I'm just thinking,
not Corey Feldman.
ChatGPT come up with that roster? Oh my gosh.
Oh no! Have you heard his song?
Jacob? Oh, we played his music before. The Comeback King song,
Comeback Comeback Kid or something like that.
It's literally the worst thing you've ever heard in your entire life.
The Comeback Kid.
He's trying to. He's
bad.
Dude's 60-something years old. He's dressed like Michael Jackson, so he's still trying to be like Michael Jackson and beat it during the entire day. It's bad.
Well, look, it could be that. It could be like that, right? So he steals Michael Jackson's look, but Fred Durst stole Keith Urban
Keith
Urban's look, and then he died.
There can only be one in the world of entertainment with the cowboy hats. Okay, this is why Chris Gaines put down the hat for a little while.
When YouTube was first getting going, way back in the day, before Google bought it, there were a bunch of Dragon Ball Z AMVs set to My Way or something like that by Limp Bizkit. It was something like that, to that effect. And I only remember him being that red hat guy. But then when I go and look him up now, I get this. And I just, do you remember that guy that He's like it's like Jason Statham, but he's like high on weed. That's what I think of right now. It's like stoner Jason Statham is what I see right here.
I can see stoner Jason Statham. I also see, if anybody knows, if anybody here was a fan of Nick Rekieta or still is during all the Amber stuff, you might have seen a guest on his stream named Robert Barnes. He's a lawyer. He looks exactly like Robert Barnes if Robert Barnes went to Vegas for like a weekend and just decided to go bonkers.
Okay, guys, I gotta show you this because we're like full rabbit hole like right now. I know we're starting off like 10 minutes talking about Limp Bizkit. We'll get to the topics here in a second, but I gotta point this out.
We are rolling.
So this is Fred Durst's official Twitter page. So the first thing that you see is an anime avatar, right? But then it gets even better.
Are you serious? You can't be serious.
This is Fred Durst.
It's 1.1 million. It's real. Why does he have Ray Ayami as his avatar? And Ben, what is happening?
Cider, it gets better.
Shout out Booty Hunter.
The pinned tweet of this one is literally the crying Star Wars fan on Consumer Else. This is literally his pinned tweet.
No.
Yes.
Why?
I haven't thought about this in ever. Oh, this was for. That's right. This was right.
Did he get hacked?
No. He posted this like a month ago.
He's just going full like poop poster right now. Is that Yavin?
It's just like nothing in this entire page makes any sense whatsoever.
It's like,
yes.
People keep taking their money.
I feel so uncomfortable knowing what we got now and like everything that happened. I forgot that was for Rise of Skywalker. I think in my mind I thought it was Mando for some reason, but oh man, just seeing that moment there where he goes, oh, is that Yavin? It's like, you're trying hard, man. Like, this is not good. Like, please find a friend. Use Bumble's friend option and just go hang out with somebody. Get out.
Like, literally, Fred Durst's entire like front page is the crying Star Wars guy, and then like one video from like Fallout Vegas, and then everything else is just like UFO conspiracy videos. Like, that's his entire front page.
He's like somebody from the internet straight out of like 2011. I kind of love it. Like, as soon as the stream's over, I'm running over there. I'm dropping a follow. How could you not?
Well, speaking of people taking advantage of the MAGA situation, we do have an announcement. This is some pretty good news.
This is pretty cool, guys. So, in case you did not hear the news earlier this week, the one and only composer of the Halo series, of the first Destiny game, of the Oni game, I'm going to go really deep there for some of you out there. He is officially running for a seat in Congress as a representative from Nevada. So Martin O'Donnell, again, guys, Halo series composer while it was under Bungie. If you know the Halo theme, the chant, the like all that with the guitar riff after that, that was all him. That was like, he's one of the best composers. You might have he was in the news really recently because during the whole Activision Bungie sale, all that stuff, they sort of screwed him out of his rights to the Destiny music. And so he was not happy about that at all. But that's sort of, what were we going to say, Jacob? Or are we just...
No, that was just me.
Oh, okay.
I do have this, though.
What is this? What are we doing? Oh, yeah. Dude, rule.
So it's that guy. It's that guy.
Dude,
just so we're clear. It's that guy.
Yeah, it's that guy. It's that guy. It's that guy who made that song. He is officially running as a Republican, as under the Republican banner for a spot in Congress to represent Nevada. Now, his main issues that he wants to tackle are quote unquote toxic divisions that are going out through our society, which we know exist. I just sort of question like that like, that's nice. I know we all want them to end, but how do you sort of address that? I'm sort of a little like, okay, we'll see. But then it's also the widening gap of like, or I don't even think it's a gap. I don't know the right term to describe it. I'm sure somebody in the chat will hit it, but the ongoing phenomena of how the middle class just doesn't exist anymore. right? Like we're all either like
Right, the
in
class
poverty or-
disparaging, yes.
That's what it. Yeah, there we go. That's what it is, Cider. Thank you. Yeah, so he is really against that. He wants to bring back and revitalize the middle class and get you like the wages you deserve and everything without going California style, where it's $20 an hour to work at McDonald's or whatever, right? And then, of course, the biggest issue he wants to tackle is the border crisis, which I don't. At this point, whatever side you're on, if you're denying that there's a crisis, if you're denying that there's nothing going on, you're just an idiot or you're a propagandist or you're probably both. So those are
it's getting to the point where like we're not even talking about Mexicans coming over the border
No.
anymore. We're talking about people from like the Middle East and China, and no one's asking how they got to Mexico in the first place.
No one's. I learned, and this, what I'm about to say, a lot of you who are probably more involved in the topic probably already knew. I learned that like we all knew that when migrants came over, they got like, they got temporary housing and they got like a trial date that was like 4 months away or whatever, and it was dumb.
Yeah.
I just learned that like nowadays, and again, guys, I just learned it, so if you already knew this, don't rail on me. But it's like, once they come over, they get their trial date, and then they just go like, "Where do you want to go?" And they're like, "I don't know, Nebraska." And they're like, "All right," and they'll bust them out there, and that's it. Like, no accountability, no real record keeping. Like that can't. We have better standards for Chuck E. Cheese. Like that's what I'm saying, right? Like you cannot go into Chuck E. Cheese if you don't have a kid, and they will. I'm sure Chucky has like a gun behind his animatronic suit to fight you if you try to get your way in.
That's a manga, right? A guy like an assassin or like one of those vigilante guys is sneaking guns around in his mascot costume. You remember that guy that plays the drums really fast? Just imagine if he like had drum barrels inside of his mascot costume, right?
Like, I love you. And it's just like a shotgun comes out of his mouth and boom, boom. But yeah, like, wow. So those are the biggest issues that he wants to tackle. Obviously, so he made the announcement on, I believe, Monday. He posted the most boomer video of all time to announce it. Cider, if you want to go down, it's right under this tweet, and we can hit play because there's nothing copyrighted. I just want to show you guys how sort of like simply charming it was. What? Oh, I think you passed it. Yeah, this one.
This isn't a video. No. This is a picture.
Where did I put it? I know it's in here. It might be. Oh, it's after all this because I had to transcribe his tweet.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. Like this was his campaign announcement video. This is where he officially declared, "I'm running for Congress."
Brace yourselves.
Like it's so boomer. I kind of love it.
It's made an iMovie.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%.
This is like at the start of someone's Naruto AMV. Yeah, like, dude. Thank you. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I will make more of these if you say so.
That long gap between our society and a part. Yeah.
I want to thank my mom and my sister and the creator of Naruto, but I don't know how to spell his name. Lol, winky face.
Yeah. And then it's also like they got the girlfriend credit, and then if we're going really old YouTube, like a month later they put the annotation on it that says like, "No, I hate you, Rebecca," or whatever. Like,
yeah, right. My girlfriend and I totally broke up. The one that doesn't use YouTube. She doesn't go to YouTube, guys. She's on You're the Man Now, dog.
Oh god, we
gotta get through this.
Girl. She's an iFunny girl.
Yeah, iFunny. Oh gosh. You can catch me at the Methodist Church downtown on Saturday.
I wish you did like the shutter blind thing for like a photo. There are no images in this, but like that's exactly like it's there. I can feel it.
You know? Just a very passionate black lady. Just letting everybody know she's down with it. Whatever that was. Wait, we're using all the effects.
I know
the fonts.
The effects, dude.
Be nice to the goose, okay? I will.
So
I will let.
That's actually one of his old catchphrases. He's been using this since like the Halo 2 days, and it's basically his philosophy in development is be nice to your golden gooses, which is like executives should be nice to the devs and the studio and the people who are actually making your game, because they're the ones making your game. And as we've gotten to nowadays, more people definitely should have listened to that. Who made this? He probably did.
Yeah, he did. He did. He said, I'm announcing my candidacy and stuff like that. So basically, guys, if you don't know, musicians aren't usually visually artistic.
No.
That's why you get like album covers of like naked babies, Nirvana, you know? So like, that's what happens with these guys. So this guy's like, you know what would be a great idea if I make a really cool background song and I'll just have Arial in lowercase font scroll by too fast to read, so you'll have to pause it. And then I'll throw every effect at the end. It'll be great.
But that's what I love about it, because he has that way long tweet we skipped over, because guys, it's so long. If you want to know his full statements, you can read it. I summed it up the best I could. But throughout that entire statement, he never says like I am running. He never says the official words. I am officially running for the like the 39th congressional seat of Nevada, or whatever the proper terminology is. He only says it in this video. Like he was like, this is going to be the banger. Like this is going to win me over. This is going on cable television. And I'm not really like, I'm not mad at it. Actually, I find it kind of endearing, because to me, this shows somebody who's like, I'm getting into this because I need to do something. I don't have $1 zillion behind me and a bunch of PACs and all that and donors who are funding really nice fancy commercials where I go shake hands with whatever demographic I'm supposed to be appealing to on this channel. Like, this is just like, he even says in all the statements, like, I feel it's a civic duty. I can't just stand by anymore. We have to do something. And our leaders are failing us. So to me, all of this is just like grassroots. Like, I like this. We regardless of sort of which side they come from, we need more of this just in politics in general, of like people actually genuinely caring and putting in the work and hopefully winning. Oh man, who was it that just won? So, oh man, somebody just won a Congress seat. No, not Trump. I know. I mean, he blew out yesterday, yesterday. But there was somebody who was like, she tried to get canceled, and then she ran for Congress recently, and she just like won in the seat. And I can't remember who it is, but it's such like a good story, and I can't remember, but it's funny because it's just like, this is what happens.
We got this iMovie. We got this iMovie presentation, right? Okay, but it could have been this. All right.
Is that audio?
Bright color.
Cider, is there audio?
Oh, is there? Is it not sharing?
Yeah, there's no audio.
What is happening?
For all we know, that could be a legitimate video.
Is streamer not doing?
Maybe some.
I'm here to run for you. There's a bunch of promises that I'm never going to fulfill, but I'm going to pass legislation that won't work for you.
Some people run for you. I run from you.
Is there audio now?
Hit play.
Yeah, for whatever reason, we can't hear it.
Yeah, I can't hear it.
Maybe it's the video itself that's muted.
That's weird.
Can you hear it on your end?
I can hear it perfectly fine.
That's
I was just showing Marty's and it played.
Yeah, the Marty one was perfect. Like
you heard the music in Marty's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I genuinely.
There it is. You hear the piano. What
the?
What is going? Anyway,
Henry,
it's
like
it's a
parody.
parody.
We're all deaf right now.
Anyway,
we all
it's a parody.
just instantly went deaf.
Well, anyway, it's a parody, and it basically says, this is our candidate, and our candidate is shown in positive, flattering lighting, unlike his competitor, who is shot through a telephoto lens from a bush, coming back from God knows where. You know, and that's... I'm sorry, I'm so glad that it's not just this guy walking slow motion with like Michael Bay effects in the background and like America needs a new set of leaders. Communists have invaded from space. You know?
And then you get the typical imagery of where like he gets into like his pickup truck and he like guns it down like an open plane, which is
off
like
a ramp.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
you're just like, what are we selling here? What exactly is being sold to me?
America.
And it's
Order
just like,
now.
It's like yeah, right, exactly. America 2, buy now. And it's like, could we just buy a
America
simple
2 Bounding Blue.
at this point? But so yeah, so Marty's running for Congress. That we all know that he's running as Republican. Those are his 3 main issues.
You know what? Screw it. Let's just go all in. Marty Durst, 2028. Let's just do
Honestly,
it.
I'm in for that. Bring music back to the White House. Donald Durst. Oh man,
ODB.
He's already got the red hat. You literally have the marketing.
Limp
there.
Bizkit is gonna perform like concerts instead of rallies, so it's just gonna be like them.
Perform at the inauguration. Hell yeah.
So this is the thing, right? So imagine if this O'Donnell guy gets in, right, and he gets a chance to revamp the American anthem. So like you still get like all the neat Rockets Red Glare stuff, but you get the ho 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 with it, like exactly
President
right?
Durst.
President Durst. Yeah, it'd be great.
And then Durst will have a new verse. Well, you know, if we can have the what is it?
Make
Jacob?
ads great again. Shot with iMovie.
The African national anthem, right? Like that's what all the sports like organizations are on nowadays. So if they can have an African national anthem,
the Black national anthem.
Black.
I was gonna say,
right? Black
Kill the
national.
Boer isn't ours.
All right, stream's over. We're getting shut down in like 3, 2, 1. Boop. But got him.
I forgot.
Damn it, you were going and I was looking at a different window.
I left the comment up by accident, so it totally ruined the effect. I'm sorry. I ruined it.
It's okay. It got me, and I think that's what everybody cares about. Yeah, bye. Yep, see, bye, Henry.
It's not over. We're not going anywhere. It's just a joke. Everything's fine.
But yeah,
Oh my
I
God,
would
okay.
totally be down for gamer national anthem. What's up, Jacob?
If anyone can send us a Korean girl band covering Limp Bizkit, send that to my DMs immediately at Society Movies.
Jacob's gonna come on stream next week, just full K-popped out, be like, guys, I found the next best thing.
Yep.
So yeah, running for Congress, all that fun stuff. Obviously, you guys won't be surprised to learn that after his announcement, he obviously caught the attention of a lot of the video game press, a lot of the terminally online, because obviously they all, typically lean left, and he's a conservative. So he took an interview. I know, like, oh, how awful! What a bad person. And so one of the people he spoke to was Dean Takahashi of VentureBeat. And I say that name specifically because you guys might know him. He was the guy who could not do the Cuphead tutorial like years ago. If you guys remember that clip where it says like, push Y to jump over. And he like keeps hitting it. And he's like, why can't I play this game? I don't know what's going on. But that's just I'll never forgive him for it. So that was just my unrelated swing. But so he asked him, he goes, so Marty, if you do win, will you work, or like, what do you think of Donald Trump? Do you support him? Do you not support him? And Marty straight up was like, I support him. I'm going to vote for him. But he also gave the caveat that, or it's not really a caveat. It's more like, this is how politics should be handled. He went, I support Trump. I'm going to vote for Trump, but I will work with any president who's in office because we need to like get stuff done. We can't just keep fighting all the time. Now, that simple declaration between I'm a conservative and I support Trump, it has broken brains out there. If you go online right now, I wish I had the tweet on hand, but I was reading through a thread earlier today where somebody on social media was basically going like, how are you surprised by this turn? Of course, Halo's always been Republican and racist. When I was camping out for Halo 2, everybody there was clearly Republican, and they were all into military stuff, and they brought Chick-fil-A there because they knew that was exactly the demographic that would support their anti-gay stuff. And it's just like, that literally did not happen.
I literally once had somebody refer to Chick-fil-A as bigot chicken before, and I was like, you are not a real person.
What?
Yes.
Because
Quite
yeah,
literally.
like so yeah, in case you guys don't know out there, Chick-fil-A is run by a Christian family, right? Or is it like, I don't know if it's a family or a guy. I know that
corporation or like one of those like LLC or something like that. But
yeah, whoever's up there or whatever. But they their ownership, their sort of base mission is that they are very Christian like oriented, and in their private time with the money they make from Chick-fil-A, they tend to donate to conservative causes, which also include like, I don't want to say like anti-LGBT, but it's more like just like to get it out of schools and stuff. Most
LGBTQ stuff is anti-Christian, so I mean, it only makes sense.
I know, but there's also I don't want to frame them as like Westboro Baptist, because they're not going out there being like, I want you to die and get out of here. But they are like,
guys probably
we're not behind this.
You probably remember, what was it, a couple of years ago? I think it was like Chick-fil-A was trying to move into like New York State for like the first time, and everyone in New York was all like freaking out. I was like, we can't let this big company come over here, and it's like they literally done nothing except for just be Christians. But of course, they're like, no, they're bigots and they're right-wing extremists. And everyone, I love the videos too. Like they were asking, like, are you gonna go out there and eat chicken? It's like, yeah, the chicken's delicious. I'm just gonna go get a piece and go back home.
Right, like it's food. I don't know. They'll donate the money if they want to donate the money. It's really, it doesn't really work. Also, side note on Chick-fil-A, did you know there's one so Atlanta built their new football stadium like 4 years ago or whatever, the Mercedes Dome. There's a Chick-fil-A in there.
But it's closed on Sundays.
The NFL games primarily happen on Sundays. I literally don't know. Like, okay, you get 2 Thursday openings throughout the entire season. In absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's like on paper, someone should have been like, well, if we're not going to be open on Sundays, and Sundays is like where the big football games happen, maybe don't put it in the football stadium.
The Mercedes Dome is literally right next to the Atlanta Falcons Stadium, which has games like every day and has a food court, but there's no Chick-fil-A in it. And it's one of the best business decisions a truly Iger level move, if you will. But yeah, so
it's nothing like waking up trying to go to Chick-fil-A and realizing it's a Sunday.
I have run into that once, like back in my younger days, night of drinking, hungover, like I just want a chicken, and then halfway there, my friend going, dude, what day is it? It's Sunday. We can't get it. And then just like turn around. I don't even want to be out anymore. I'm just going home. Like I'm already giving up. But yeah, like Marty O'Donnell's Congress run has like, it's so insane to me because it's such revisionist history. And it's one of those revisionist moments that I was literally there for, right? Like I loved Halo as a kid, Halo 2, 3, Reach, all that stuff. I went to the midnight releases of 2 and 3. I skipped school, all that fun stuff. In those lines, nobody is sitting there going, let's talk about politics. Hey, man, you like video games? Do you want to talk about your politics? Nobody's doing that. Nobody, if the Chick-fil-A cart showed up, it was genuinely because they went, oh, bunch of people are going to be outside. Let's go cater to them. Not like, it's such whatever weird revisionist history. That's the only real weapon they have to push back against a lot of this stuff. And if you were there, it's so simple. If you just look at a history book, even if for whatever, like now I'm like extrapolating, but like just any history, go to the facts, and it's completely opposite of how they hyperbolically flip out about this.
Yep. Yeah.
And I don't know who it's going to help. Like, does this? All that does, here, I'm going to give you, the liberals, some easy advice here, right? Some easy political advice. The libs, the damn libs. But the more you go out and the more you sound insane like that, you're not convincing anybody with this revisionism, right? You're only talking to the 4 or 5 people who are already up their own butts as much as you, and then making everybody else go, that didn't happen. Okay, goodbye. And again, like that's what's happening in this situation, but it happens in every sphere, every spectrum, every like political leaning. It's just so stupid. Just be honest, I guess. I don't know. It's just like, I was there. Yeah, I love using that picture for it. But yeah, it's like they're trying. It's literally the same level as the 90s going, oh, everybody who plays Mortal Kombat is going to be some violent killer thug terrorist, right? Like they're going, anybody who played Halo, right? Yeah, of course, Orange Chat. Shout out, buddy, if you're out there. But yeah, just it's going, oh, everybody who played Halo had to have been this, I'm gonna get extreme here, but this is sort of how they're framing it. This Anders Breivik level insane person who just only liked Halo because it gave them an outlet to play as a military hero. Like it's such thin reasoning that it's that symptom or that thing we always see where they don't remember things that happened 5 minutes ago. They go, what's happening right now is the most important thing, and I'm right about this. I don't care what I said before. I don't care about what happened before. Only my reality exists in this moment. Because I bet you that person probably likes GTA or Baldur's Gate 3, and all of those same games can have that exact same argument thrown right back at it. And it's just like, how many times have you guys out there, like, or go ahead. Yeah, you go.
No, I was just going to play to this because, we're on the cusp of like a very hard, pendulum swing back to the other direction, because I think that the reality is setting in. It's like, unless something borderline or just straight up illegal happens in the next few months, Biden's chances of winning an election aren't looking very good right now based on the numbers. So everyone's panicking and freaking out that Trump is going to get reelected. He'll be back in the office next year, and then he doesn't have to worry about reelection because he can only serve 4 more years anyway, which means that he's going to hammer MAGA down everyone's throats, and people are like literally like having panic attacks and asthma attacks over this whole situation. It's like we've tried for like well over a decade now to kill this whole thing, and it won't go away, and it hasn't gone away despite everything that we've literally tried at this point. And like I said, everyone is I don't know what they're thinking in their mind, but they're thinking like the Third Reich is about to return here, and that they're going to be like marched out on the streets. Now, maybe deservedly so. Maybe some of you guys deserve it. But outside of that, I mean, like, this is they said they've built this old monster in their own head, and they're just having like they're breaking mentally over the reality that the guy who they didn't want in office now is going to be on the way back. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you've ignored the reason here for now 10 years, so I don't know why you're going to start listening now. So enjoy the ride.
Well,
I
just want to say, over on X, we've got a comment from Willem Pilar. Sorry. It says, not to be the dead horse, but Marty's getting the Trump treatment. Trump is a pop culture icon with more civil rights leaders wanting a pic with him than the average fan. He was a king of cameos in movies. Rap songs were written about him. Everyone wanted to be him until he said he was a Republican. Marty's no different. Everyone backed him with his legal issues, loved his music, etc. Now he's a bad guy all of a sudden. Blame that on the GOP not pushing back against the mainstream media and allowing them, I presume that comment goes on to say, to transform Marty's career into this.
Or to change the narrative,
Right, to change the narrative about Marty from where he's a good guy that does on time, music to being the devil now,
but William, you're 100%. I think we all agree here. You're 100% on point. Cider just wrapped it up, and it's going to get worse. It's going to get, as we get closer, people are going to start trying to, for example, this is what I sort of predict, right? He had a fan club way prior to this. He's had it for years, and it's always had the facetious, fun name of Marty's Army. It rhymes a little bit. It sounds fun, whatever. I guarantee you guys, as we get closer, somebody, probably Kotaku or Polygon or, insert whatever outlet you want here, is going to write some sort of piece that says, is Martin O'Donnell fascist leaning? Because he called his, and they'll use the most disingenuous language possible. He used his followers and his zealots or whatever, and he called them Marty's Army. What does he think of an army? And it's just like, it's reaching too much. And I think,
we're on the absolute cuffs of like the greatest payback tour in American history right now. And everyone who has done, like I said, everything that's been done between 2020 to where we're at right now, there's a whole lot of get back to be had, and people are panicking that, people are going to remember everything that I did and said over the last 4 years, and that might come back and bite me in the ass. Well, as Joker said in the film, you get what you effing deserve.
I kind of can't disagree with that Joker take. Because that's the Joaquin one, right? Yeah.
Speaking of getting what they deserve, after 21 years, Rooster Teeth is being shut down because they can't be sold.
On the topic of Halo. What a good jump. Yes. So if you guys did not catch the news earlier today, I still have to do a write-up for it for Bounding Into Comics. It'll probably come up after the stream. But Rooster Teeth, the studio behind RWBY, behind Red versus Blue, behind that awful Gen Lock show, they are officially done. They're shutting down. They're out of business. Warner Brothers bought them, I believe it was about 8 years ago. It might not even be that long ago. But in the last decade, they were bought by Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers found that they just could not make a profit off of it. Nothing was selling, and then they tried to, spin it out and sell it as its own entity. Nobody wanted to buy it. And so here we are at the end of the run of probably one of the, if not the premier sort of, what do I want to say this? Like not the premier, but one of the premier like web creators of the old Wild West, right? Like Red versus Blue. I still watch that show to this day, and those jokes still make me laugh. If you guys caught that Marty article, it is impossible to find a picture of a red Spartan anywhere. So I went to a Red versus Blue episode, hit play, grabbed my screenshot, but let it play in the background while I was working. And I was like, damn, I forgot how good this was. And then, if anybody's paid attention to their recent output, it's not been good at all. So obviously, the Red versus Blue crew, most of them have all gone. Rooster Teeth's seen a massive exodus of staff over the last couple, again, like 10 years or so, a little bit before they got bought out. And it's sort of a line graph where the more, I don't even know how to properly illustrate this with my hands, but it's like the more leadership that left, the worse their products got in this sort of like upwards line. Yeah, I hope that came across right. But basically, RWBY started out as this, action anime inspired fantasy series, inspired by Monty Ohm's work. And it was, it was supposed to be fun and exciting and all this stuff. If you've tuned in recently, it has devolved into, this episode is written specifically to address this criticism from social media. This episode is written specifically because we want to give a nod to the shippers. Like the plot, like they've lost the plot to the plot of RWBY. And then if anybody caught it, I don't know if it's the last RWBY thing. I think they might be doing a season right now, but the last big RWBY project was a RWBY crossover with Justice League, and it is absolutely terrible. Like all the characters don't act like themselves. They all act like Tumblr level fanfic characters. It's really, really bad. And so all that to say, I'm really not surprised that Rooster Teeth is folding. I wish I could sort of say like best of luck to you, but I really don't. For everybody who's currently still there, I really don't enjoy the work or the content or anything you guys are really putting out. This is the same company, and this is the same company that hired Grace Randolph like last year. They said, we want you to exclusively do movie content for us. And then they just they didn't announce it. They didn't discuss it. Grace did like 3 episodes for them. Gone. No, like they realized how bad of a move that was like near immediately. So yeah, that's sort of like what you're looking at, the modern day Rooster Teeth. They don't really care about sort of like most companies. They don't really care about putting out that quality work so much as they let the fame get to their head. Once RWBY got their fan base, they all started going, oh yeah, praise us. We love all this. We know you'll stick around for whatever. Okay, so we'll start, oh, look at this fan over here who made a piece of fan art with 14,000 likes. Oh, they have an opinion on who should date who. Well, let's take that into consideration. Let's do that. So yeah, Rooster Teeth completely gone. And this, I wonder, because here's the thing. We all know that WBD is probably going to be sold in the next year at least, if I'm being like super conservative.
I wouldn't say just maybe a deal gets announced, but it'll probably be a couple years before it's finalized.
Yeah. So in service of that, I genuinely wonder if this is related to that. Was Rooster Teeth just such a burden on their portfolio that it was better to abandon it than try to sell it off? Were people just going, I don't want that? like please, sometimes like you go to like a restaurant and they're like, oh, we have this complimentary food or whatever. You're like, I don't want it. It's fine. Like, I know it's a deal or whatever. Like, I don't want it. Like, maybe it's something like that. It's the timing is weird, but it's also like possibly this was as far as they could go because they're not making anything.
I mean, they should have seen the writing on the wall when Machinima went down. So it's kind of a marvel they lasted this long.
Honestly, it is. Like, I didn't even remember Machinima until you literally said it right now. And it's like, yeah, they definitely should have looked back there. Backwatch time.
Yeah,
I love this GIF, man.
Oh yeah, this is absolutely just best. But yeah, I mean, that old guard of YouTube, like I said, it just feels like every single one of them. And I don't want to like say that it was directly related to Trump, but I did notice that a lot of those like YouTube brands that were big, let's say like the later stage of like 2000s and like the early 2010s, that when they really started like picking up on it content wise, like most of those channels by like the end of that decade was already like suffering pretty heavily just as far as like quality goes. And like I said, a lot of them went under, a lot of them haven't really recovered much. I mean, honestly, how many YouTube channels that were big 10 years ago are still kind of relevant like today? Like, a lot of them are kind of like fading away or only holding down to that core audience that they have. Yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about even video game YouTubers, remember when Vanoss was like the biggest video game YouTuber on the platform for a while, and everyone was watching like all their videos, like him and Wildcat and Nogla, and all of that's kind of subsided, recently over the last several years too. So it just feels like there's a changing of the guard in YouTube just in general.
I think there is, because there's also been, to your point, there has been such a large rash lately of creators saying I'm wrapping it up, not getting like forced out or harassed or anything, just being like, hey, I'm at the end of my run. The most notable one, at least in my mind, I don't really care for his content, never really have, but I know that a lot of people have watched him, is MatPat, right? He recently announced, I'm done. Like, it's been 13 years or whatever. I just don't want to do this anymore. I'm out. So clearly there's something changing in that ecosystem. I think you're right. Obviously we know, or at least if if anybody's been paying attention to sort of the ad discussion on the internet, there's a huge, the ecosystem is garbage right now for advertising. Unless you are the most clean propagandist site for like the left, it's really, really hard.
I will say this too, because this is also something that you can relate back to the whole rise of Trump, is that before Trump, like there used to be a time where, if you worked hard enough on YouTube, got a big enough following, and you hit that 100K like subscriber count, like you can quit your job, you can go be a full-time YouTuber, you can focus on videos and editings. And there's a lot of guys who made a lot of money during that time period. But once we got into the Trump era and YouTube is all like, you know what, we need to start censoring and controlling what people can say. So you can't say these words anymore. You can't talk about these topics. And of course they went after like mostly like right-wing creators and stuff like that, but a lot of those other big YouTube channels got popped too, because all of a sudden they were getting popped for things that they would normally say on their content that they can no longer say anymore because YouTube changed the algorithm or changed the rules on them. And like I said, the days of I'm going to be a big time YouTuber and I'm going to quit my job and make lots of money, unless you're doing like makeup or like shooting guns in your backyard or stuff like that, those days are over. Like that day is done.
Seriously, like you need to have not just like sponsors like in videos, right? But you need like, what's the right term? Like somebody who's actively funding you, like a studio behind you to sort of make that full time nowadays. Like that's really how bad it's gotten. But
it's gotten pretty rough.
Yeah, but I think it's fun, or like I want to touch upon what you said there about like how this all changed during Trump and how everything's sort of changing, because I think there's something changing here. And I don't want to be one of those people going around going like, oh, the woke is defeated or whatever, right? Like that's definitely not what's happening. Or
slow down just a little bit.
Slow down. We're not quite there yet. If anything, it's stubbed its toe, which is, we can all laugh, but like, let's hold off on the obituaries. But I think it was last week or the week before, Joe Rogan got his podcast back on literally every platform after getting booted off because, you're spreading COVID. I don't even know which thing he got in trouble for nowadays.
He was, first of all, he was telling people to... He said that, no, but this is back in 2020 when he was telling people, hey, don't lock down forever. This vaccine, maybe just like wait just a little bit. And they were all saying, Joe Rogan is literally getting people killed because he's telling people to take horse dewormer on CNN. Like they literally tried to like cancel like Joe Rogan. The interesting part about that is that Joe Rogan obviously has like a massive fan base, not only in the community, the comedy community, but the MMA community as well. Community. And they were like, yeah, you guys are not canceling like Joe Rogan. So they actually like rallied behind him, and whatever like attempt that the media tried to make to get rid of him just absolutely failed. So they tried for a while to get rid of Joe Rogan, but he had way too much support for it to actually be successful. So they just gave up because they knew it wasn't going to work.
Well, that was one of those moments I was sort of talking about with the Halo stuff. Is like before COVID even started, before Trump was even a thing, Joe Rogan's podcast, and it's sort of like what William was saying about Marty, right? Like everybody liked it, or at least everybody was like, I might not listen to it, but I know he gets good guests. I know it's a good show. People should have it. I might not agree with him, but I like the other voices.
It wasn't even like it was a thing where it was only right wingers who were listening to Joe. There was a lot of left wing guys who were listening to Joe Rogan too. So it's like, he found the perfect middle ground with both left wing and right wing people when his podcast was at his height.
And that's exactly what happened, right? So everybody liked it. You get that narrative, but everybody is sitting here going, that's not what Joe Rogan is. Have you ever actually watched it? It's sort of the same effect if somebody is like, oh yeah, I don't really like those Final Fantasy games because you're always cutting up people and there's so much war and bloodshed and everything is so serious, and you're like, I know you haven't like engaged, so why are you even here? Right? Like that's how I sort of feel with that, with the Rogan stuff all the time.
And another thing I think hurt them too is that they were going all in on this. Oh, he's so dangerous. His views are so dangerous. And it's like, Joe Rogan, in all honesty, is a pretty milquetoast guy. So a lot of people who've known Joe Rogan before, they tried to cancel and listen to all these things that the media were saying. It's like, dude, that's not Joe Rogan like at all. It's like, I've known like Joe for years. Like he's not this extremist as it's like all of a sudden, oh, he's gonna bring the Nazism back. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you?
That's like if anything, he's just like a goofy guy, right? Like he believes in like
he's a goofy guy who
conspiracy theories and stuff, and like Earth conspiracies and stuff.
His podcast is about like doing DMT and talking about aliens for the most part. And it's like that's not like you're dangerous. Oh, well, we need to shut him down right now. It's like, oh,
one of my favorite comparisons for Joe Rogan's podcast is always like it's this green text from 4chan from a while ago, but they basically were like, Joe Rogan's basically like an old con, right? Where it's like, you mountain man, teach me, son, teach me about sun. And that, like, that's what his podcast really is. He says, like, talk to me. But what about this? Like, it's really hard to sort of find anything to be
that was another complaint people were whining about. It's like, he's not pushing back with people making absurd claims on his show. It's like he's sitting there and having like a 3-hour conversation with him. You think that he's gonna sit there and be like, what's your fact check on that? Can you fact check?
Weed.
Okay. Yeah, and smoking weed.
and he's high.
Yeah. But that's also like that's sort of the same pushback we all heard Tucker getting, right? Like Tucker Carlson with his interview with Putin. And it's like, here's the thing. First of all, not only have like left-wing pundits done the same thing with like left-wing dictators for all of history, right? Like, get out of here with that. But it's also, that wasn't really the point of the interviews. Like Rogan's interviews and Tucker's interview with Putin, it's like we want you to talk. We want to hear your platform. I'm not here to interrogate or battle back because it's not about me. It's about I want to hear what you have to say so that everybody else can hear what you have to say and sort of make a decision from that. And
well, not only that, but I think the real reason they were really like afraid of the Tucker interview is because, keep in mind, ever since the whole Russia-Ukraine conflict, is that they've been trying to trade this narrative around the world stage that, oh, we're going to sanction the crap out of Russia and they're going to suffer. Their economy is going to absolutely collapse and we're really going to stick it to Russia. And you hear that just from like the media, because like I said, they went complete blackout from anything that was coming in from Russia. But there was a YouTuber, I wish I remember his name. I know I could pull up his video here in a bit, but he was basically just going around like showing people, it's like, look, you guys are talking about all these sanctions. I'm walking around St. Petersburg right now, like nothing has changed. Like McDonald's is still open, we still have the malls open. It's like everything's like still cheap. So the narrative of the world is that, oh, Russia's hurting, they're suffering, they're on the brink of collapse, and the guys guys are like walking around. It's like, yeah, here we are Friday night. Everyone's at the bar. I don't know what to tell you.
Look, as for whatever stances you might have on the conflict, we're obviously not here to debate any of that. But like, I knew that these sanctions would not work the second they happened for one, or I guess two specific reasons. As soon as those sanctions went up and they said, all the countries out, we're not releasing movies here, we're not sending food there, blah, blah, blah. All the McDonald's buildings got taken over by like a Russian company that's just making McDonald's style food now.
Just bootlegging McDonald's.
Well, yeah, but then like they're bootlegging McDonald's, but they're also in their movie theaters. They're just running cam rips of movies and like DVD rip releases. So they're getting free money. Like does anybody understand that? Like the
and Batman,
like,
oh, so
release it there.
Exactly. So Hollywood, we're gonna ban movies from Russia. It's like, okay, we'll just play bootlegs in our theaters instead. Like, we'll just rip them from the internet and show them in our theaters. So that way we'll keep all the money.
Goes to us. Yeah, we don't have to give you absolutely anything. It was so dumb. Why is Hollywood so stupid? Hollywood is like the dumbest entity around. I mean, that's not new, but it's where we're at.
Well, it might be new to Dakota Johnson.
That was the setup. That was the setup to knock it down.
I gotta be honest, like I've had a roller coaster experience with Dakota Johnson over like the last like 2 weeks because when I first heard her speak, I thought, is she like autistic? Like, is there like something like mentally wrong with her? Then I'm like, okay, she's not autistic, she's just an airhead. And now I'm back to, what, I unironically love this woman now. She's one of my favorite actresses.
That's actually kind of what my entire cycle has been. And honestly, I think the viewers can, if you go back to like the ends of every bounding stream, I think that's what Jacob and I are always talking about. Like, yeah, she's a ditz, but or what was it I said the other week? Like, there's a light in the house, but nobody's home. But then I listen to her now and I'm like, oh, you're on our, like, you're one of us.
Mm-hmm.
So in case you guys, first of all, if you didn't see Madam Web, you should. And I say that 100% because that movie has broken my brain and I still cannot get over just how
rotten.
Not like it's rotten, but it's not like it's so corporate, it's so dumb. Like you can just see every single bit of wire sticking out from it. It's not even like a good animatronic, right? Like,
no.
If a phase 1 or 2 Marvel movie is that full animatronic Chuck E. Cheese perfectly working and all that fun stuff, then a lesser sort of movie of that, like Mad Web is the animatronic that's working, but it's painted all wrong. You can see the mechanical wires.
You're going a little bit robotic there, by the way.
Oh, am I? Oh, is my audio going weird? Okay. Is it still going weird?
I mean, it's better now. I think maybe stabilizing a little bit. Try again.
Yeah. I have an issue with my microphone right now. It came up on Friday's stream, so I'm trying to fix it. So if you hear it,
your whole thing is
like
your camera's moving. You're like in a tunnel.
While I fix this.
Yeah.
All right, I could pick up the story here. Just give me a second, because I don't have it up on my end, but I'll just go ahead and pop this baby up. So Dakota Johnson, here's the thing. Madam Web came out, it bombed, it wasn't very good, and all the actresses now are pretty much associated with it, or pretty much admitting, this was probably a mistake. Like, even Sydney Sweeney went on Saturday Night Live and made a joke about the film, so this one's dead on arrival. I think we can all agree that this was a bad film, probably shouldn't have been made. But Dakota Johnson came out recently, made a couple of arguments, not only about the film itself, but kind of the future of her doing any superhero movies, but then basically slammed, the Hollywood's greed in trying to make AI art and trying to replace the actor, saying that, you can't make art based on numbers and algorithms here. So the story here goes, she was in Madam Web. They made her the star of the movie. Like I said, I've talked about this a couple of times now. I personally have not seen her in any movie that I would consider to be good. I mean, the only thing that I've seen her outside of this was like the 50 Shades of Grey films and like the Night at the Royale. That's the only other movie. That's probably her best movie that I've seen her in, if I'm being completely honest with you. But outside of that, she's been in some stinkers there, and this one is certainly not helping that reputation at all. But she went on an interview and she actually said something. I don't know if it's accidentally profound, but she basically was talking about, the writing on the wall with the film, and she said that it's so hard to get movies made, and these big movies you get made, even when it starts happening with the little ones, which is really freaking me out. The decisions are being made by committee, and the art does not do well when it's made by committee. So you're talking about these films, and we've talked about it multiple times here. Why do you have like 5 screenwriters for a movie? Like that's writing by committee, and they're never good when you do that. If you don't have one, sometimes 2 screenwriters who have a shared vision and then can put it out on paper, it's just a mess. You're trying to patch up something that you probably shouldn't even be doing in the first place. You don't have a director who's actually talented. You just have, okay, we need you to basically be a traffic guard for this movie. It's like you direct the woman spraying the web juice over here, then click cut, and you send us the dailies. And that's pretty much how these studios or these corporations have been doing it now. And obviously the actors are now starting to know this. She continued, the films are being made by a filmmaker and a team of artists around them. You cannot make art based on numbers and algorithms. So yeah, you can't moneyball Hollywood. That's not how this works. It didn't even work for the Oakland Athletics, which is why I don't know why they made that movie and thought that it was successful. They always lost in the first round of the playoffs. It doesn't work. So I should go on and say, my feeling has been for a long time that audiences are extremely smart, and executives have started to believe that they're not. So audiences will always be able to sniff out bullshit. So even the films start to be made by AI, humans are not going to effing want to see those films. Yeah, I think everyone knows that, the corporations are like, hey, we can start getting, scripts done by AI. If we can start doing videos, quite literally videos done by AI, then we can save a lot of money by not paying these actors to be in our films anymore. So I think a lot of people are seeing the writing on the wall, and it's not going to end very well for them. But as for feeling how they're starring in this disaster of a film, she admitted, but it was definitely an experience for me to make that movie, talking about Madam Web. I'd never done anything like that before, and I'll probably never do anything like that again, because I don't make sense in that world, and I know that now. But sometimes in this industry, you sign on for something, and that's one thing that as you're making it becomes a completely different thing. So once again, she's letting you know that this film, whatever it ended up being, whatever you guys saw in movie theaters, was not the film that she signed up for. She's been suddenly letting you guys know this for several weeks now, that hey, this is not the movie that I agreed to be a part of. So something definitely happened behind the scenes, and like I said, this is her subtle way of kind of like burying the people behind it, because you can't just come out and say that, yeah, this movie sucks and I hate it making it and everyone here is stupid and retarded, because then you're just going to get blacklisted. But you can make pretty subtle ways of making that same point. This is kind of like what she's doing here. So who knows, she may actually be smarter than we're letting her on. Maybe she's just playing dumb in the public so that people don't have high expectations of her, which, hey, lay low if you possibly can. Right?
Right, exactly. I mean, this is, again, like, it seems profound coming from her. Anybody else on the street talking about this, it's like, well, duh, But these actors, like, coming up for air for the first time, maybe in their lives, for Dakota Johnson,
Yeah.
it's something to make a note of anyway, in my opinion. Because they've been so brainwashed. Like, remember with Brie Larson, I wouldn't say brainwashed, I guess. There's been so held to a script, if you will, in everything. It's just Brie Larson being like a monolith for SJW politics. This is why it sticks out so much, is Dakota coming out, and saying like, hey, this Hollywood thing isn't quite right. It's not exactly news to anybody, but it's profound coming from one of them.
Yeah. Like I said, it's somebody from the inside that is seeing it. So it's like, okay, somebody in that industry actually does have a brain, and they are noticing the same things that the rest of us are noticing. It's almost like a glitch in the Matrix, where you have to like think to yourself, it's like, are you guys just all like robots at this point? Is this who they've hired to run the industry? It's like, okay, so there is someone there who's kind of smart enough to know what's going on, even though they probably can't publicly admit it, because I guess they still want the paycheck at the end of the day. But deep down inside, that we're right about this, and that's enough I guess validation that we could possibly take on this whole subject here. But I think she even admitted, there was one more quote that I had from her here. It's like, but yeah, it was a real learning experience. Of course, it's not nice to be a part of something that's being ripped to shreds, but I can't say that I don't understand. So it seems like everyone here is taking it in stride, but it's probably due to the fact that, knew that this movie probably wasn't very good to begin with. And yeah, so that's what Sydney Sweeney and Dakota Johnson, the 2 stars of this movie. It's like you can either double down and get upset and be like, no, it's the fans that are wrong, or no, they just don't want a strong female lead, and there's a bunch of incels and bigots, and I was like, yeah, okay, the movie sucks. I mean, hey, it is what it is. You can't bat 1,000, and it's like, okay, no, fair enough.
Well, speaking of a guy batting 1,000, we got Chris Hemsworth and his very poor movie choices.
Ooh, this one's gonna hurt. So, Chris Hemsworth, as you guys may have known, he has been in a plethora of just awful movies over the last 10 years. Now, even in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like even outside of that, you have to look back at those Thor movies and think to yourself, okay, how many of those Thor movies have actually been good? It's like people will give Ragnarok credit by like default. That's not even to say that it's a great movie, but compared to some of those other Thor movies like Thor 2 and Thor 4, yeah, it's probably Casablanca by comparison here.
I fell asleep during Thor 2.
I think I've fallen asleep in every consecutive watch I've ever tried of it. Like I know I saw it the first time in theaters. I sat all the way through, but I don't think I've cared.
No, I fell asleep in the theater. Yeah,
just snoring.
Yeah, no, I was head back gone. My fiance was like, "Hey, the movie's over," and I'm like, "What happened? Loki was in prison, and I fell asleep."
Then why did you wake me up?
Yeah, exactly. He died?
I was comfortable.
What? Yeah, that's just, it was just so drawn out in the beginning. Like, I just do not care what Christopher Eccleston has to say in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Give him a glow stick. He'll feel better.
So Chris...
Timey-wimey.
Like I say, so keep it. I was going to tell the story just real quick. So I went to go see Thor 2: The Dark World at a theater. Spencer, I'm not sure if you are familiar with it. You know the outlets of Orange and Anaheim. Have you ever been there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
that's where we all used to go watch movies when I was in college at Irvine.
Yep. So I used to go there occasionally when I was like heading up for like Angels games and whatnot. I went there to go watch this film in IMAX 3D. I'm sitting there in the theater. I brought my brother, my niece, and my nephew. It was like, because I was working at AMC at the time. I was like, okay, here's free tickets. You guys can go watch this movie. We're sitting there about 20 minutes in. My left eye goes completely black. And I have no idea like what happened. So like, imagine sitting there like watching a movie and all of a sudden it's like you can't even see out of one eye. So it's like, did I just go like insta blind? Like what the hell did that? So
is my body trying to protect me from this movie?
Yeah, right. Like,
so I immediately take the glasses off, and I was like, okay, wait, I can see, so it's not anything like wrong with me. I put the glasses back on. I can't see out my left eye again. It's like, what the hell? What's going on? I look around, and everybody else is in the movie theater is doing the exact same thing, right? It turns out the 3D projector broke in the middle of the film, and they couldn't fix it by the time the movie got started. So they just ended up refunding everybody's tickets and giving them free tickets for a future event. Like everyone just thought that they just went blind at the exact same time. It's like everyone was freaking out for like 10 seconds.
I like how that's the default assumption, because that would have been mine too. Instead of like, is something wrong with the movie? It's like, oh, I'm dying. This is it.
Exactly. Here we go. It's like, is this a stroke? It's like, is this what a stroke is?
Yeah.
It can't possibly be a technical difficulty. Clearly, God's wrath has been exacted upon me right now in this movie.
Exactly. God's sake, it's time right now. It's like, I'm not going to finish this movie. He was like, no, trust me, you're better off now watching it.
But Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, so Hemsworth over here, he has been in some really, really bad films. Even outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he's been in just one flop after another. And what I tell you about these...
better question is like, what good things has he been in? I know the Extractions are good.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where it ends.
I thought he was all right with Cabin in the Woods. I thought he did okay in Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, that's right, he is in that. I like him in that.
Yeah,
okay, yeah. I forgot he was even in that movie.
And you know what? He was the only guy on the set of Ghostbusters Girl Power that was having fun. So
that's true. As much of a stinker, he was at least enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, outside of that, like Extraction, I really enjoyed. There was a movie a couple of years ago on Netflix, I believe it's still on there, called Spiderhead with him and Miles Teller. That movie's actually pretty solid, but it's like a low budget, like kind of like indie horror film. So I mean, he seemingly has had some success with some of the Netflix projects he's done, but they're not big enough to be like, oh, this is going to set him apart from like anything else that he's done. But I came across this old article here, and I think this might explain why he's been in so many terrible movies. Is because he admitted that via his mother, who's also a big feminist, that he became a feminist himself, and he seemingly admitted to being drawn to these movies that have strong female leads and kind of like shift the power balance, as he quotes it here, between male leads and female leads. So I'm gonna go ahead and just give you a quick list of some of the films that he's been in that have verifiably flopped, and you'll notice a trend with a lot of these movies here. So he was in a film called Snow White and the Huntsman, and he even came back for part 2 called The Huntsman, The Winter's War. That was the one without Kirsten Stewart, because if you remember, I think Kirsten Stewart had a little affair with the director, and then the studio was like, yeah, you're probably not going to be back for a second one.
That's right.
Yeah, that was before she went full-blown lesbian, by the way, so you have to go back a little bit further to dig that one up. So that one was obviously a bad role for him. We talked about Ghostbusters, the 2016 one. That flopped for Sony, and then they now pretend like that's not even canon anymore, so they don't even even make any references to that at all, so you throw that one away. Men in Black was another film that he was in with Tessa Thompson, where they were trying to become the new Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, and that did not work at all for him. Like I said, we talked about Thor: Love and Thunder, another film that I think barely made any money, but that was the introduction of female Thor and bringing back Natalie Portman. I don't know why. Like
that only made money by brand recognition. Like, yeah, that's the only reason, and it barely squeaked out anything.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I even said this, like, I think I said this when Ragnarok came out, and this is another reason why I thought Ragnarok was good. It's like, well, at least we don't have to worry about Natalie Portman and Kat Dennings anymore, and lo and behold, just a handful of years later, they brought them both back, and it's probably the worst Thor movie to date. So, way to go, guys.
Spent all that money to get Natalie to come back, and you just pooped it out.
Not only that, but keep in mind, they went all in. Like, they showcased her at Comic-Con. They gave her the hammer. It was like, she's gonna be like the new feature of like this film. Like, they had the whole marketing machine behind her, and it just crapped the bed like almost immediately.
So bad.
And then also keep in mind, he's supposed to be in the new Furiosa movie, which is the Mad Max spin-off prequel film. So it's based on the character that Charlize Theron played in Fury Road. Now it's going to be played by Anna Taylor-Joy. It's a prequel movie, and then he's also the co-lead in that one as well. By the way, just in case you guys didn't know, that film currently has a production budget of $230 million, which means that it's probably going to have to make at least $800 million just to break even with that massive budget. So,
that reminds me. I know it's a little off topic, and I don't want to distract, but I just want to exclaim, because it's like, what's with all these budgets lately? There was like a period of 2 months where all these movies were like, oh, we're only doing it on 80 million. We're scaling back, blah, blah, blah. And now it's like, that gets 250 million. Joker 2 has like 260 million. Captain America, Brave New World's hitting like up there now. I don't get it. It's so dumb.
It feels like money laundering, like, doesn't it? It feels like if we could just shove money into this production here, then that way we can write it off in taxes when we don't get the return that we want. So it seems like it's a tax scheme, because I just refuse to believe that it costs almost $300 million to make the Marvels. Like, really? That's how much money you blew on that?
Well, yeah, I'm with you, but also like 700 different reshoots. So that might have just been a really bad self-inflicted own goal.
which you probably couldn't avoid it if you had just, I don't know, hired a writer and a director who actually knew what they were doing.
Well, so what I'm hearing is that diversity, inclusion, and equity are very, very expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very, very expensive, because not only do you have to hire the bad ones, but you have to hire a lot of them.
Yeah, you have to hire a lot of them, and it's always their friends, and you'll hire more and more and more and more and more and more.
You know what it's like? They hired the people. Remember when Elon Musk first went to Twitter, and like he basically like fired like a whole bunch of people, and people were like angry. It's like, oh, I can't take an hour lunch like anymore, and like, they want me to go back to the office. It was like those people who are just like sitting around like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, sipping lattes, not actually doing any real work, and all of a sudden. And it's like playing in the arcade and like taking a nap in like the break room and stuff like that. It's like these are the people who they've hired for these major Hollywood productions.
Well,
because
I just read this article, or no, go ahead. Sorry, I'll finish after you do.
no, I'm just saying because, like I said, this is what Hollywood pushed for. Like, you guys are the ones who, like, you actors in Hollywood, you're the ones to be like, well, if you guys want me to work on this film, then you better have inclusion writers. So you better have this amount of people behind the scenes that look like me and all this whole stuff. So it's like, okay, Hollywood gave you guys what you wanted, and now the business is absolutely collapsing upon itself because what they really did, they hired a bunch of people who were not qualified for those positions, and now they're just producing one stinker after another. It is not just stinker from like critical perspective; it's losing millions of dollars for these studios one after another.
Okay, so do you, or not so, because I'm not dismissing it, I'm building on this. So the article I'm talking about, do you guys remember probably around like 2017, 2018, there was like a social media trend where young people would be like, this is my life, or like, this is a day in the life of somebody who works at like Google or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And they would go around and be like, I check in at 12 or whatever. Then I do that. So recently, all these companies have started cutting back on all that crap. And apparently the reason is because all of these stupid employees were going out and just being like, look at how little I do. Isn't my life like so great how I don't have to do anything? And it's like, I don't know about you guys, but anytime I've worked at like a company and I got like a nice little sort of bonus thing or whatever, or like I got to take off early, I'm not sitting there like bragging about it. I don't know, keep it under wraps.
It's like, if you're at a job where you're not really doing that much work, don't like, highlight the fact that you're not doing that much work, because what's going to happen is a bean counter is going to show up one day. He's going to ask you, just like in Office Space, what is it exactly that you do here? It's like, and then if you can't come up with a good answer, see you bye.
Yes, see you bye. And now the answer, but I mean, you could always just say like, I bring diversity to the office, and you're good for 10 years. Here's your pension.
Yeah. It's like, I represent the disabled disability of the office. Well, guess what? You can just wheel yourself on out of here.
Good news, you got us a wheelchair ramp, so you can get yourself on out.
They see me rolling.
Come on, we need Fred in a wheelchair. I know we were talking about he's being old, but that's gonna make rolling so much better when he plays it live.
So, but I mean, this is what happens. It's like you guys got so comfortable.
That was
so
a bad animation I did.
It's like you guys got so comfortable and so stupid. You just highlighted to the entire world that you guys really don't do anything. So it's like, oh, hey, guess what? We need time to make job cuts. I wonder who's going to be the first to go. I don't know. Let's do the one who put the YouTube video up for the world to see about how she just sits there and sips lattes and talks to her girls at like 2:00 in the afternoon when there's no actual work being done. I wonder if they'll be the first ones to get cut.
Well, unfortunately. Go ahead, Cider.
I got a transition. So if you want to go ahead.
I was just gonna exclaim something I don't even remember anymore.
Okay, cool. That was easy. Just like Zack Snyder says things he doesn't really mean.
Yes. Well, does he not really mean it, or does he actually mean it?
I don't think he really means it. He probably doesn't even know where he is when he said this out loud.
Honestly, the way he talks about this makes it sound like he really doesn't know what he's talking about. So. Speaking of, comic books and movies and Joe Rogan, earlier today, Joe Rogan released a new episode of his podcast, and his guest was none other than Zack Snyder. Yes, the director of Watchmen, 300, Batman vs. Superman. Woo!
Yes,
Yay! Sell Snyderverse to Netflix, I guess. The dumbest campaign I've ever heard. Sorry, guys. It makes zero sense on any level.
It's going to get dumber.
But yeah, so Zach made an appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience and, talked just sort of generally about his career, about Rebel Moon, about DC, about yada, yada, yada. Nothing too overt. Obviously he's not a political guest or anything like that. So there's nothing that's going to explode the front pages of the national media or whatever. But at one point during his appearance, of course, I mean, this is pretty expected when it comes to Zach, he got to talking about the DC universe and his plans for all of that. And specifically, he got to talking about the criticisms he got for a bunch of the, creative decisions he made in all of his films, from Zod getting his neck snapped by Superman in the first one to Batman being like insanely brutal in branding people in Batman v Superman, to pretty
Murder
much
Bat.
Yeah, Murder Bat. That's I knew there was like a colloquial name for it and I couldn't remember it. And then so yeah, Rogan sort of, brings that up to him and says, what's it like dealing with like that with all these criticisms? How do you navigate that? And so this is what Zach fired back, and we'll just read it off and then we can talk about it. So Zach fired back to Rogan, quote, "That's a lifestyle choice for a lot of people. It's not a movie. If I made a romantic comedy, you'd be like, okay, that was fun. The people who love, and by the way, I love that they feel this passionately. In no way would I criticize that because I live the same life, because for me, it's morning, noon, and night. But for those guys, it's not just a movie. And so you have to, on some level, acknowledge that this is their religion and they feel strongly about it. And the truth is, it's my religion too. I tend to get in trouble because I do take a deconstructionist view because of The Dark Knight Returns, because of Watchmen. If you've read those two comics, it's hard to go back. And it's because I care. Huh. Go ahead.
I was going to say, there's always two words you want to hear: religion and deconstruction.
I know. I know.
It
gets dumber as we keep going. It's because I care that I want to take them apart. People are always like, Batman can't kill. Batman can't kill as canon. And I'm like, okay, the first thing I want to do when you say that is I want to see what happens. And they go, well, don't put him in a situation where he has to kill someone. And I'm like, you're just protecting your God in a weird way. You're making your God irrelevant if he can't be in that situation. He has to now deal with that. And if he does that, what does it mean? Does he stand up to it? Can he survive that as a God, as your God? That's where like Frank Miller takes Batman and just tears him in half. And you've got to now come out the other side of that, and Batman is still the hero. Batman still does the right thing. He maintains his code, his ethics. He doesn't change, but like our perception of him changes. But a lot of the fandom, who I feel like have gotten to the same place I have with the characters, where they need to test them. And I feel like, I totally cut myself off there. Whoops. Yeah, I need to redo that sentence. But it's been my experience that the characters have not let us down. These myths have not let us down. You put them to the ragged edge into that scenario, and they come out the other side, and you're like, yeah, there's a reason why Superman is Superman. He can handle it. He can effing take it because he's so iconic. End quote. So, yeah, Snyder's basically, like I hear this, and it sort of just embodies to me the awful style of writing we're getting nowadays, which is that deconstruction. And it's not just the specific deconstruction, because while a lot of people don't want to hear it, deconstructions can work in specific instances if that's what you're going for. Like, look at Watchmen. That worked as a deconstruction. The Dark Knight Returns does work to deconstruct that character of Batman, right? The difference is those deconstructions, or more specifically, The Dark Knight Returns, don't abandon that core character. And I think that's where Zach is getting confused, where what's the difference between canon and character, right? Like, okay, you could have a story where, this hasn't been done to Batman. It's a complete new thing. And let's explore that. But it's sort of like what we all talk about here every week. If you have to make the character, I think Cider might have said this last week, like exactly, but it's like, if you have to make the character not act like themselves, it's bad writing. And that's sort of what Zack Snyder is sort of weirdly justifying. Like his whole point about Batman can't kill, that's his canon. And then, so that's what I want to do. It's like, that shouldn't be your sort of response. The response should be more like, okay, he can't kill. So what does that mean? How does that play into his heroism? Go ahead.
These pretentious bags of douche, what they've done here is that they act like having to follow any kind of like, you can say bullet points or like timeline or any kind of character. It's like, okay, this is the character that you're writing. This is what the character is known for. This is the pros and cons. This is what he's known. This is the relationship he has with other certain characters. It's like, oh, why I gotta follow these rules? Can I just do whatever the heck I want to do? It's like, well, no, because you're doing a superhero comic that a lot of people know and a lot of people are familiar with. So if you just do your own little thing, people are going to notice that this isn't the comic book character. Like, oh, you basically just bastardized it. It's like, why can't I not just bastardize? Why I got to follow all these rules? And look, Zack Snyder is saying something that in the Hollywood bubble actually sounds good, because how many interviews have we seen with people saying that, I was specifically hired because I didn't read the comic books and I know nothing about the character. director, and I'm just gonna go ahead and write my own thing, and I just wanna write what makes me happy, right?
Marvel. Yeah.
But in the Hollywood bubble, what he's saying makes sense. Outside of it, he sounds like a complete just jack off. Like that's what he sounds like.
Well, it's kind of like what Dakota Johnson was saying in that other story, where it's like audiences aren't stupid. They can sniff out bullshit whenever it comes through. So every time one of these directors go, "Oh, I'm deconstructing. I'm putting a new twist on it that you've never seen before." We all know what that is. Like we can smell it from behind their back. They can hide it all they want and say, "Oh no, the surprise isn't here." And we're like, "I know you have a dog turd behind your back." We very rarely, I think maybe like a handful, if that, of movies have not subverted our expectations, but like proved us wrong, right? Like where we've gone like, "Oh, this is going to be awful because of that," and then, "Oh, not bad." And again, maybe like 2 or 3 movies. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I know they exist.
Yep.
But you want to make sure that you reward the audience's expectations. That's the thing. It's one thing to be predictable, but you don't want to be to the point where you're usurping the expectations, where you set up something, like a bowling ball rolling down the aisle, and then all of a sudden it changes into a fish under the sea, like we saw with that AI thing.
Oh,
you can't do that to an audience and expect them to be on board unless that's the premise of the movie, is that bowling balls turn into fish. You can't do that to an audience. You need to set up like Superman and Batman are going to have a fight to the death, and it has to make sense. It can't be because they have the same mom, like the moms have the same name. You can't do that. You can't have them be like, "Whoa, did we just become best friends?" Like you can't do that. You gotta see it through. You can't position Bruce Wayne.
I wanted to kill you till I found out your mom's name was Martha too.
Right, and that changes everything because we're both so ridiculously traumatized that thin little link between us called Martha, not even the same Martha. We're going to
a name. Yep, Simone's got it.
You imagine being the editor that realized this way back in the 50s, that was like, "Oh, Superman and Batman have the same mother's name. Surely this will never become a major plot point in the story. It's just a happy accident that this has happened. No fool would make this a major plot point in a multi-million-dollar production. That would be something a communist would do. I'm going to go boink my wife now."
Yeah, right? And then I'm off to church.
In that order.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. What was I going to say about it? But so like to that point, they, with their deconstructions, they break them apart like that, but they don't care about how you build them back up to that character. They really just care about the insulting and the breaking, because they, like in Batman v Superman, Snyder breaks them all down and shows them, "Oh, you're not that mighty, you're paranoid, blah blah blah." But then, oh, it's time to show what their characters are and bring them together and respect who they are. And he goes, "Martha, I guess. I don't really know. Just throw it together. Cool. Now let's get to the next part where they die or whatever." Like they only care about getting that. I don't even want to call it unique, but like that subversion in, because to them, they don't really care about what they're working on. Jacob said, all those Marvel creators don't care about the movies. They're told not to read the comic books. To a lot of these creators, they're only looking for that one moment where they can go, "This is what everybody's going to talk about, and I've left my mark on the industry." They want, and it never works.
Spencer, you bring that up, and guess what you found today?
What did I found? Oh, that's right. We got to talk about this. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this.
They're looking for that
superheroes in wheelchairs, baby.
This is that one moment. And now that we brought it up, we have a lot to talk about with this thing, because everybody here, this is why Marvel Comics is in the toilet, why the Western industry is in the toilet. So if you guys were here last week, you'll remember that we talked about the latest Sentry rumor as covered by Jacob, which is that with essentially in Thunderbolts, the Marvel movie, the Sentry will die and have his powers transferred to a younger, more diverse, disabled, probably gay successor. And a lot of that rumor was based on the idea that well, aside from the casting, because the woman from the Bear was cast in the movie, and in the latest Sentry comic, they've sort of introduced this idea where the Sentry's powers can go into different people. So 5 different people have received his powers. One of them is, or like 4 of them are diverse in literally every way you can think of. Like, I'll recount them again. You have your lead character, Mallory, who's the one right here. She is a black journalist with cerebral palsy who has to be in a wheelchair. Another one of the guys is an Indian immigrant who doesn't get the respect because he's an immigrant. One of them is a Mexican mom who crossed the border and all that like story or whatever. And then you have the bisexual Asian guy who was proposing to his fiance when he got his powers or whatever. Like, so those are all, and then you have the straight white guy who is a bad guy. So the entire plot of this book is the white guy wants to kill all the other Sentries so that he can sort of take their power into him and become the Sentry. So
Spencer, it's just like that time that the Phoenix Force made the X-Men into Power Rangers. The Phoenix 5. They were like a 70s like groove band for a while. It was really cool.
Remember when they had Emma Frost beat Thor? Remember that whole thing?
Remember when they had Echo beat Namor?
Oh yeah.
Both of them Phoenix powered? Like yeah, Marvel has lost the plot. I will admit though, I like that Cyclops costume when he gets the like red Phoenix, but that was pretty much the only.
The art isn't bad, it's just everything else about it that's bad.
Yeah. It's like cool designs, but the entire story is completely awful.
So just real pause, real quick. So this is the story that they're going with because they don't know or they just don't want to tell the story of Robert Reynolds and the Sentry, right? Because it's a character that comic book characters have known for a long time, but it hasn't gotten any play in any kind of like television or like movie adaptation up to this point, right? So this could be the very first introduction. Like I said, this could quite literally be a character that could be your next Avengers villain, especially when you start playing into the Void and it being just a completely like uncontrollable, mentally ill, like Superman clone. You can do a whole bunch of things with it. I'm pretty sure some of you older comic book clone. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure some of you older comic book characters.
Clone, yeah.
I'm pretty sure some of you older comic book characters remember the whole thing about the Siege, right? And Norman Osborn and like the Dark Avengers and the Siege of Asgard and whatnot, even though they destroyed Asgard in the MCU. So, I mean, you can throw that one out the window now. But there's a whole lot of things that you can play up here with this character. But they opted, you know what? We don't want to do that because it's basically just another straight white male. Why don't we kill him and then go give his powers to a bunch of other people and they can be the Sentry? Because now the Sentry is just a mantle that anyone could hold now. Even this black girl, this powerful black disabled journalist can now be the Sentry. She could be the most powerful person in the entire MCU now.
And well, she's going to be because so if you guys don't know about this is a very basic reading, or like a very basic thing I'm about to say, but it needs to be established at the beginning of this conversation. Movie synergy. If you guys don't know what movie synergy is, it's basically the concept that when a movie with a related product or something attached to it, whether it's a franchise or like a sports league or whatever, when that movie is coming out, you will try to make synergy among all your products to sort of reinforce that, to sort of nudge people to go in to see your movie or what have you, right? So we've seen that a lot throughout the MCU and through the DCU, but the MCU one's been the most prominent, from the things like turning Loki into the weird sort of pan whatever Loki he is in the MCU now, to Captain Carter becoming like a very serious element in the comic books, to what was that big one that I always remember? The White Widow. Like White Widow is back now, and she looks exactly like Florence Pugh. And there's a new Thunderbolts book, and Bucky is all of a sudden the leader of it, even though the last Thunderbolts had nothing to do with that, right? And this Thunderbolts team just happens to have what's her name's character, Elaine from the MCU, and it's got US Agent and it's got all these characters that oh my gosh, is there a movie coming out with these characters? I can't believe it. So with that in mind, and so this movie Thunderbolts, it's been delayed a couple times. I think it was already supposed to be out, if not coming out like next month. So with that timing, with that original timing, and the release of this book, which this is just issue 4 of 5, like they're still actively doing it. There's no other explanation for why they decided to go this way. The Sentry, throughout all of his history, even before this split into the Phoenix 5, the Sentry always came back as himself. Whenever anybody used him, he was Robert. It was to make such a radical change. You can clearly see that it's like, oh, we want to set up our hero for the next movie. And considering that the woman who was supposed to be in this unknown role right now was black, and now the woman who replaced her is like, what'd you say she was? She's like Mexican or Indian, right? She's
Indian, but like her last name sounds like German Orient, which is weird. So it's like, yeah, I'll dig that up here.
They don't care about that. They just care about your skin color. Come on now.
Yeah.
So with her being in that role and them not saying anything, it just, if this isn't what happens, I will genuinely be shocked. I would genuinely eat my shoe, because I would. Yeah, no, this is what happens. They set it up in the comics. If you go and you read a comic book for a movie that's coming up soon, you can pretty much get a sneak preview of what you're about to get, because that's always what happened. Oh, Harley Quinn. That's the best. That's the one I was thinking of, right? Jester suit forever. Even if you go to Arkham, she still got like the domino mask and the nurse outfit. We get Suicide Squad, the movie. Every single depiction of Harley ever since, whether it's a cartoon, the games, the comics, action figures, they're all that stupid blue-haired daddy's little princess version. And like, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, by the way, I found out she's half Indian and half Swiss. So that's the actress who's now. Keep in mind, who just had an amazing performance in a little film that you guys may have heard on our Bounding site, Drive Away Dolls. And this is the person who's going to be a central figure in the Thunderbolts movie. So Marvel just knows how to pick them, because they need a hit real bad right now, and this is what they got coming out down the pike. So,
oh man,
disappointed.
Oh man, so it's not letting me share the right screen. For some reason, it just wants to send. Yeah, that's not the. Whatever, I don't know. It can't share the screen. But the thing I wanted to add is that in this latest issue of the Sentry, so the white guy kills all the diverse sentries, and he absorbs their power into himself. And then in this issue, the black sentry, the black girl sentry, is able to split them out and return them to their forms. But they don't just become human again. They're all like Sentry Avengers. Like they all have his powers now, and they're all going to go fight the evil white guy. And it's just like, you guys are trying way too hard. Like, oh no, I guess this is the end of the entire series, this issue. I didn't know that, because yeah, that ending shot with her in the wheelchair, I guess that's it. Like that's her now. She is completely 100% Sentry, and it's just like,
well, Solaris.
Solaris, if you will. For no reason. Literally no reason.
And then keep in mind, these people hate comic book canon so much, but they literally only did this so that when they do it in the movie that's coming out next year, they can go around in the press tour and be like, "Whoa, it's accurate to the comic books," which is something that you guys. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just like that. That is 100% what it is, and we've seen them try that before. But there's this meme that goes around, and it sums it up perfectly. Where it's like, you got one person at the top where it's like, it's the Dr. Manhattan meme where he's like appearing and blowing the guy away or whatever. So it's like Dr. Manhattan says, that was in the comic book, or the guy in the corner says like, but that's in the comics. And Dr. Manhattan says, but those comics sucked. And that's literally what it is. Like every time they try to pull something from recent comics, whether it's Falcon Cap or Miss Marvel, or now your new disabled Sentry, none of it's good. All of it's focused so much on like, what check boxes are we hitting, rather than are we delivering any sort of good story? Are we caring about this at all?
Marvel has a plan, guys. Marvel has a plan.
And Neil can be amazed at the touch of the black man. Ooh. I bring life.
I'm never gonna get tired of that clip. I absolutely love it because that's literally what we're looking at over here. Like
I bring
the
life.
touch. Yeah, I bring life. I bring the solar back to the Marvel universe. Finally, and I didn't even really. We didn't even. I didn't. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like confused. I'm like tingling myself up because I just realized this entirely stupid element of this entire story, which is. If you guys know the Sentry, I know like we all do here on the panel, Jacob went over it a little bit, but like the Sentry is not mentally stable. Like he's a legitimate like schizophrenic. He's haunted by the void all the time. He's a heroin addict. Like that's why he broke into that lab and drank the Sentry formula because he thought it was drugs.
He's literally a meth addict who took a botched version of the superhero serum and became basically Superman, but he's so extremely mentally ill that he can literally like snap and like destroy like an entire superhero team like with ease. Like that's kind of the whole thing.
And like right. And like it was his whole thing because that was always sort of the what do you call it? Like the weakness, the fault in his character, right? Like I'm super strong.
But this way, he's been on both the hero and villain teams, and neither side can control him. That's his
Yeah, no, that's perfect. But we look at Solaris now. Well, she doesn't have a void. She's not freaking out. She's just like, yep, I'm ready. I'm a superhero now, which means she's the young, diverse version that can actually do this better than the white male predecessor. Like it's so
and she's in a wheelchair.
I mean, how could you forget? How dare you even forget that fact, Jacob? We must remember our disabled queens at all times.
Yeah, you're starting to sound like a bunch of cretins here. Tom Brovort's going to be up in your business soon.
Tom. Every single time this man opens his mouth.
Why is every person in comic books named Tom just a complete douche?
Yeah, actually,
I'll see myself out. Okay.
In mainstream comics, let's put it that way.
Okay, it's better. It's better.
Yeah. You're fine now.
Breaking news: we just discovered Cider's real name is Tom.
I've been keeping it a secret. You know, I put it in my books that I send out to people all over the world.
The one that I'm actually working on, by the way.
They'll never know it's me.
Tom Cider. That actually does sound like a good. That sounds like an American folk hero. Hanging out with
No, that sounds like an 80s like action like star name. It's like if it was like a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, his name would be like Tom Cider is.
Tom Cider stars in this CBS special this fall. One man versus an apple orchard. Will he survive? Tune in 8 p.m. Central Time.
The core of his family's
Tom
murder.
Cider is the Dragon Fist.
Nope, not female enough. Can't be the Dragon Fist. Sorry. But yeah, so Marvel Comics editor, senior vice president of the entire publishing arm, Tom Brevoort. You guys probably know him from the last time he came out with this. So quick recap on the entire situation. A couple months ago, Marvel teased their next X event, right? In the comic books. After Krakoa, it's going to be this storyline called From the Ashes. And with that announcement, a bunch of fans, like us included, we were starting to speculate and hope, like on social media, on streams, yada, yada, that, hey, can we get the X-Men back to adventure and not this weird Krakoa? Like, remember all the complaints I was saying about Ruby earlier about how it went from action and story to we got to talk about our problems every day and here's a specific thing to respond to our social media. Yeah, Tumblr-itis.
Guys, remember when comics didn't suck? Could we go back to that? Could we go back to that, please?
We're
ago in a
decade now. 2014 was Marvel Now. I mean, that's just the hard date, and it was happening before that, but that's the date I use as like the official start. Was that release of that promo image for Marvel Now with like Riri and Miles on it and all that awful crap. But so, yeah, in the wake of that announcement, a lot of people were specifically going, I hope it's not woke, whether they were, using that term specifically or whether they were, what's like expanding on their thoughts. That's what they hit Brevoort with. And at that time, Brevoort shot back that this is the X-Men. The message is the point. And that obviously, I think you guys might remember that discourse. It blew up because that's not true at all.
No.
From Stan Lee himself, according to the man who created them, the reason that the X-Men are mutants and that the entire concept exists is just because he wanted an easy way to give people superpowers and go, oh yeah, you're a mutant. Okay, here you go, superpowers. And then all of the fear and stuff that relates to, people walking around with essentially nuclear weapons in their fist. So he never intended it to be this Malcolm X, Martin Luther King reading that everybody always tries to promote. That's what Brevoort said last time, but he left it there, right? That was his last statement on it. He just said, for the X-Men, the message is the point, moved on. But yesterday, he returned to the topic in his personal Substack newsletter. So I don't know if you guys know he has one, but like a lot of comic creators, he has a blog where he sort of just continually babbles about whatever is on his mind, yada, yada. It's a blog. We all know how those go. So essentially, in this latest blog post, he was asked about the recent backlash and the recent discussions happening around X-Men 97. And specifically, a lot of the conversations that are like, oh, it's going to be woke. I don't know why I'm going to say, and like, that's the specific conversation he's talking about, right? Especially with like the morph news and all that. So, and like the reduction of like Rogue's assets and all that fun stuff. So a fan asked Brevoort, like, what do you make of all of that? Like, how would you respond to critics who say that the X-Men, or like they don't want it to be woke or whatever? Like, what would you do, Tom? And so this is what Tom shot back, and I will quote: first off, I think the ill-defined accusation of being woke is nonsense, and I tend to turn off and tune out whenever it comes up in almost any context.
Just like we tune out your movies.
Dude, 100%. Like, or your comics. I don't know what's going on with the X-Men right now. The people who are using it and who brandish it like a sword to attack whatever they don't like tend to be mostly, well, cretins. They aren't making a good faith argument. They've just come up with an all-purpose term, an infinitely adaptable scarlet letter that they can hang on anything they don't like for any reason. That all laid out, I'll tell you what I said previously on social media when a version of this question came up. For X-Men, the message is the concept. This is a book about oppressed outsiders, each a minority of one for all, that they share the X gene and a commonality of purpose, who are hated and feared because they are different and who have to constantly struggle to find acceptance within a society that does not understand them and wishes that they would just go away. Every X-Men comic book published since 1963 is about these themes to one degree or another. Without them, it wouldn't be X-Men. So while our primary objective is always going to be entertain and to thrill, this is always going to be a prevalent stratum in every X-Men story. End quote.
Golf
so
clap.
There's right. Yeah, I know. Yeah, good job, Spencer. You read it. So obviously there is a crap load to break down here. And I guess, the three of us will just take it from the top, and we'll start with his declaration about woke people using the term woke and labeling them cretins, however you want to say it. I know there's like 7 different pronunciations.
It's like Coach Cretin from that old All That show that's now like 31 years old, by the way.
That's how I've always pronounced it. And then like I have family go, no, it's cretin. And I'm like, okay, you're just from the South. Like, that's not fair. Like, don't put that on me. But so
put a fire on them cretins.
On them cretins.
Some
that cretin in the middle of the road right there. But
I personally just think it's like hilarious that it's like Spencer's Asian side of the family that's just from the South that speaks like that.
Look, they do. But so I'm going to take a bit of a controversial stand here and say I partly agree with a little bit of Brevoort's read. Like, in recent times, when it comes to the term woke, I do think it has gotten to the point where it's sort of a nonsense word. I think a lot of people, in our sphere, outside of our sphere, have thrown it around the same way that, the Kotakus of the world throw around like racist or bigoted or whatever. So to that end, like, I personally don't use it, but that doesn't mean the term doesn't have any real merit. And I also just see this as sort of elitism coming from Tom Brevoort, because I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I got pressed onto this line of thought because I was reading some article where it's like a good percentage of like American adults are barely literate. Like, they can read, but barely so. And I was just like, that's
comic book writers.
Yeah, right. They work at Marvel. But so I was just like, man, that's depressing. Just in a general sense, I was like, man, that's a big bummer. And then it sort of got me to realize that in sort of like this context, maybe these people don't really have the right words to express how, like, what they're reacting to, but they know what they're criticizing, and they've found a term that they can use to criticize it out. Because yes, there are those people who just go woke, 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 everything is woke. Oh my gosh, you Final Fantasy VII lets you play as a girl, that's woke. Like, there are people who exist like that, but there are also people who are just like, that's woke, and they know what they're talking about. Go ahead, Jacob.
I'll say this: the word has been borderline on meme in some instances, especially over the last couple of years. But at the same time, the reason why they're upset about the word is because it's actually effective. So like, when people like hear that word, they know it's a negative connotation, and people like move away from it. Because if it wasn't, I don't think they'd be complaining about people using the term woke. But this is the same group that will use like any kind of a word or negative connotation towards you they possibly can, whether it's racist and Nazi and like all these other things that they've been using over the last several years. But the one word that gets used against them that actually sticks, that actually has a negative connotation to it, that's the one that they can't stand. So they're trying to somehow like take it back, I guess, in a sense, and try to make it seem like, oh, those people who use woke, they're the bad people. But it's like, no, it's because people know exactly what you guys are doing. It's like, you're not fooling anyone anymore.
It's not even taking it back. What they're trying to do now is sort of go, it's the, why are you noticing what I'm doing? Like, that's what they're doing. Because, like, you know, maybe
like me insiders say it all the time. Stop noticing patterns. Patterns are bad.
That's what I was looking for. That's the exact phrase.
Yeah.
I was like, stop noticing. That's what I was looking for, Jacob. I was looking for your phrase. But yeah, so yeah, like they don't want to take it back and try and reclaim it. They just want to make it so you can't use that term whatsoever. Again, it's like you were saying, Jacob, they don't care about, they'll do it to you all day long. They'll label you, they'll destroy your life. I literally saw an article yesterday from the website Go Nintendo, where they interviewed a guy who on Twitter shared this concept he was working on for a marble like arcade table, like, you know, the ones that are at bars that you like sit over and whatever. He was making one of those out of marble, and the guy used an AI, he generated some concept art using AI. And in the article for Go Nintendo, they perfectly said, like, this is AI. Hey, disclaimer, this is not a real image. This is AI. Idiots out there, the social media warriors who love to pat themselves on the back because they think they did something, they not only lost their minds that he would even dare to use AI, but they started accusing all of his work of being AI generated, even though it's not. And like, it's been going on for days now. And it's just like, these people want to be heroes so bad. They think themselves champions. So they want to create all these dragons to swing at, when in reality, they're swinging at shadows. The reason they get so mad at the term woke is just because somebody is criticizing them. They literally do not care. We see it all the time, whether it's you can't talk crap about female-led movies, or you can't talk crap about black-led movies. Like, they don't care about reclaiming anything. They just don't want you to notice. They don't want you to comment on it, right? Like, that's always their strategy.
What this whole thing has become, it's literally the Always Sunny meme, where it's like it's Mac and Dennis, and they're in the house and they both hate each other. So it's like Mac slides like the bowl of cereal towards Dennis. Dennis just like throws it towards like the side of the room. They keep giving you things you don't want, and then they get upset with you when you throw it away. It's like, why don't you just take what we were giving you? Because it sucks and no one wants it.
Right. And it's also like Brevort here, Brevort's doing what they always do, right? They always just go, oh, woke, that term doesn't mean anything. It's useless. And they don't expand. They don't address the actual argument. They just address that term, which is, okay, take your issue with the term. Obviously, you and me do, Jacob, but it's like, there's still a very, very real issue that you are disingenuously ignoring just for some level of superiority. Like, we can all see it. We're all sitting there. So, but yeah, like labeling people as just cretins for their word choices. Like, there's no explanation here, unless you were intentionally I don't know. To me, as from a business perspective, just writing off all fans as cretins is just insane to me. And it's not going to help you guys. I don't know how anybody's supposed to walk away from this and go, yeah, Western comics are great. Again, this is one of those things that all the 1,200 or whatever, which again, that's a low number I'm going with, like 1,200. All the 1,200 readers of Marvel that are left in the world, they're all going, yeah, Tom, you show those evil Yahtzees, those Yahtzees and Rossicists, like you show them.
Mhm.
But the rest of us are going here like, are you insane? Like, who does that? Like, genuinely, who does that?
A lot of people confuse that this guy has like an American right to free speech with what he should be saying for his position within the company that he's representing. It's very different.
Absolutely.
Just as they gave Gina Carano all sorts of crap for going out and posting things on her personal Instagram, you can't take Marvel, the brand, by the shirt and say, okay, here we go, by the neck of the shirt and say, okay, here we go. This is now going to be a political agenda. And anybody who's against that is a monster, is a enemy of society, a
Enemy of
person
the
who
state.
isn't right, and a person who is in opposition of decency, as a cretin is usually defined. So you have a problem now with a guy who is paid millions of dollars a year, or at least hundreds of thousands anyway, for the position he holds, and he's labeling your customer base,
Right.
people that he doesn't want to do business with. This is not a free speech issue. This is a knucklehead issue.
No. Like, no, Cider, you hit it right on the head. It's not a free speech issue. He can say it all he wants. Nobody's saying don't say it if you don't want to, Tom. But we are saying sort of, is this the best idea for your business? You're not. It's sort
For
of
your
that,
job.
for your job. Like, I don't know about you guys, or let me
Job.
rephrase that. I'm sure. Yeah, right. Work. What's that? Here's my Instagram video about how I'm not doing anything. But like, I'm sure you two know, and a lot of our viewers probably know that, like, when you get a job, like sort of or even before you get a job, when you're a teenager and they're getting you ready to join the workforce, one of the things you're like that hammers into your head is like, when you're like, you will be a representative for not just yourself, but for the company. So you got to, remember to make the company look good. And none of what Marvel does makes the company look good. Okay, this is the best example I can give. Do you guys, I'm sure everybody here who's politically minded knows Katie Porter. You, Cider, Jacob, like, you know who that is?
Sure.
Okay, she was, as soon as I say this, you'll probably remember. She was the congresswoman who, like, just acted like a complete social media, like, child in Congress. Like, she wore that bright orange suit and, like, read, like, the subtle art of not giving a fuck and thought she was, like, so cool or whatever, such a rebel. Well, she, that's the sort of persona and fan base she cultivated over the last couple years. This anti-Trump, this anti-GOP, this I'm a rebel badass and you can't silence me sort of like attitude. And she's really leaned into it. And that's what she's wanted to cultivate. And so her like recent campaigning was basically standing in front of a whiteboard, like writing out like leftist memes to her like her base. She just got blown the hell out in her district because, and not just like, oh, Republicans won or whatever. It's like Democrats didn't want her because your online persona does not generally translate into real life. You see it all the time where people go, oh, I've got 10,000 followers here. Well, I'm going to go start a business and they'll all come and spend $1 and nobody shows up. Like, that's what Marvel is forgetting. And that's what they're doing. They go, we want to be seen as this, online defender of progressive values or whatever, but nobody's asking them to do that. And nobody wants that from them. But they just keep huffing themselves up and farting. Like, it's just like, it's like a still suit, but instead of like pee and water, it's just their farts. And it just keeps their farts going like into their noses, like continually in a circle.
The way you finish that, they just keep huffing and farting, and it's like, what?
I know. Where did this stream go?
Yeah, I was
did we go a little 18 plus here? So before we wrap up here, I do want to share this one screen from. Oh man, it's not giving me the option to share screens anymore.
What happened? What'd you do?
I have no. Whatever happened on your end to knock that audio out. Well, good thing is this one is on the site, so I can just shoot it over to Cider in the chat and we can load it there. But this is sort of like I could not really believe this panel that I was reading when I saw it. So for those of you who don't know, there was a series released last year called Bishop War College, which was basically about Bishop training a bunch of Krakoan kids to be the next like X-Men, but in the middle of it, he gets multiverse jumped into an Earth where everybody is black instead of white. So you can obviously see that's who was at the top of that article, was their version of Wolverine. On the last article, I used their version of Storm and Cyclops. But here's a scene where the who was it? I believe it's Emma Frost, that black Emma Frost there looks into Bishop's mind and then like communicates like his memories to everybody else, so they see the other Earth. And it's just like right here. Well, first of all, there's imagine if there was any other comic where, because you've got Sebastian Shaw down there going, "Girl, you were white," and she's recoiling in horror. Imagine any other comic if an Asian character went, "Dude, you were Mexican," or a Mexican character went to an Asian guy and was like, "Dude, you were black." Like that. I don't know how that flew. This is insanely like racist. But then when you have this line over here, how can you live in a world like that? Live with that kind of pain, that cruelty. To me, that's just like, again, it's one of those like fart huffing moments where it's like, see all the white X-Men, do you see all the problems they caused? Here in the black X world, we got it all unlocked because we're just better. Even though you're supposed to be the exact same people, like you still have a Mr. Sinister on your council, and you're supposed to tell me you guys figured everything out. It's so, I don't know. I'm just stunned. I mean, not really stunned. What is the right term for being like shocked at something that's expected, or like,
at this point, I'm almost shocked by how not shocked I am anymore.
Well, I genuinely, I think that might be it.
Well, to borrow a Young Justice phrase, you're feeling whelmed.
How dare, I knew that's where you were going.
Extremely whelmed.
Yes,
Yep,
but I think
whelmed.
that's perfect. I am extremely whelmed. Mitch says, is that 616 Storm? No, that's their Storm. So she stayed the same, but everybody else. Oh, and Tony Stark is a bad white man in that universe. So
how did that even happen? If okay, Tony Stark's the only white man on Earth, of course. Why not? Whatever.
He's basically Marvel's Batman, so he's a rich white guy. So that means he's bad.
He can only be that. That's true.
That's all he ever is. That's all he ever will be, because he's just not diverse enough.
He did the Michael Jackson thing. That's what happened. Yeah,
where he went reverse. and now that the black X-Men don't accept him, that's why he's angry against them. That's why.
Right. So instead of Invincible Iron Man, it's Invincible White Man.
The DMX Men.
DMX Men. Yep. The DMX Men. There you go.
With every single one of them has the life-giving touch of the black man.
Oh my god!
But yes, with that amazing pun, we are at the end of our show here tonight. I want to thank absolutely everyone for stopping by. I know we didn't get a chance to have a lot of back and forth tonight because we were just rolling on topics. So I genuinely apologize, but I did see, DZ, Kate, Volume Dealer, Bayona Red, Mitch, Timon was here, so many other people that I know I'm forgetting. William obviously gave us that great response. We had Taffney, I saw from X for a little while ago. We had, of course, our girl Leslie. We had AIDS Me in HD, and everybody else who's either watching now or in the replay and isn't chatting. You guys are the magic that makes this happen. We're thankful for you, because without you guys, we wouldn't be here. We couldn't do this. With that said, I will pass it off to my good friends here to let you guys know what they have going on, starting with Jacob. How are you doing, amigo?
I just realized yesterday I'm actually going to be streaming a lot more than I probably anticipated, because after tomorrow, Friday night, I guess we should go ahead and get into it. Friday night, we're finally going to watch Tremors. After 2 years, we're finally watching Tremors on a Friday night movie night. So go check us out on Society Reviews for that one. Then Saturday, we're going to be doing a UFC stream for the UFC pay-per-view this Saturday. Sunday, me, Rick, and Rob are getting together for the Oscars movie stream. So that should be 3.5 hours of absolute goodness over there. Then we're doing the Bible in stream on Monday. I'm going to be doing a 2-part series talking about how how fallen angels and the Nephilim have influenced our society, both in religion and in culture as well. So go check that out. Tuesday is the Barroom Podcast, episode 90. Wednesday, I'll be back here for the 01 podcast. So I'll be doing quite a lot of streaming here in the next week. So go find me on all the places that I frequent, which is basically here in Society Reviews.
Which is basically I mean, you're also on like Sporking and with
Sporking and Culture and Comics Division occasionally.
Yeah, see, you're around. Cider, what have you got going on for us?
Just a second here. It's uploading because StreamYard's is really quick about this. So tomorrow night, tune into this channel and for Tokyo Happy Hour. It's a new show that I do with Nerdigans. She's going to complete the last 2 entries of the most salacious changes of this lovely complex anime. Just a brief overview of what we uncovered with this is that it's an anime that's not going to be one of the shonen Toonami style ones, the blockbusters. So the localizers thought it was okay to turn one of the characters into like an explosive sort of trans character, and they recontextualized the male lead as being bisexual just for the sport of it. So we're also going to be discussing the bigger fallout of Crunchyroll trying to hide their rewards at 1 a.m. in the morning. So most of the audience didn't catch it whatsoever live. And it's also a show about the culture of Japan. So we'll be talking about what's going on with racing. And I also like to talk about what's going on with ESG leaving the country. So that's tomorrow at 9 p.m. right here on Bounding into Comics. You'll be seeing Tokyo Happy Hour. Other than that, I'm around doing videos here, Monday Rewind, and of course the 01 stream. So
fantastic. Yeah. And if you guys didn't catch the first episode of Tokyo Happy Hour, it was great. Go check it out on the channel. So yeah, my turn. As always, guys, check out boundingintocomics.com every day. We're putting up content, pretty much around the hour, depending on who's awake at what times. Check out our YouTube channel for more of Cider, for more of Jacob, for more of their awesome videos. Of course, check out Tokyo Happy Hour tomorrow. If you want to see more of me personally, you can find me on Twitter right there at Kabuto Writer Mav. Come follow me on Twitter. If you want to see more of me live, I run a live stream every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time on my own channel, Studio Kabuto, called The Good, the Mad, the Ugly, where where I give you some deep dives into some topics that might not get covered around the sphere, like anime, manga, video games, tokusatsu, all that fun stuff. If that sounds up your alley, come check us out. Until then, just check out literally everything we've got going on. Everybody here's always got something good to check out. And before we sign off, Josh he's coming back. This is an update I need to give because I'm a big moron. So a couple 3 weeks ago, Josh messaged me and said, "Hey man, heads up, I'm going for a vacation next week. I'll be out." And I said, "Totally fine, no worries." I thought that was 1 week. I went back and I reread the message after he texted me over the weekend. He's out for a month. So that's why he hasn't been around. And everybody else knew except for me. So Josh is coming back. He's not gone. He's just living it up somewhere that's not a Chile. But yes, with that, we'll sign off and everybody take it easy.
See ya.
See you later.